Okay, so we'll get underway here. My name is Eddie Thompson and I'm a solution engineer here at Sumo Logic. And today I shall be talking to you about our PCI compliance solution with Sumo Logic and how you can help to improve your PCI compliance posture. So we're going to chat today about the ways in which you can use Sumo Logic as a platform in which to improve that PCI compliance posture. The way that we can do that is we can sort of think about a set of challenges that are looking to be addressed. And firstly, the common challenges that we often see with our customers is where the traditional approach, the legacy approach, it just doesn't scale to handle the various cloud workloads that you're bringing into your environment. And you're going to see scenarios where also there are these really slow cycles to PCI readiness, and it can be really quite time-consuming product deployments involving a lot of tuning that's required to match things up to the PCI requirements. There's the challenges of complex solutions that can have a really steep learning curve to get up and running, and frequently actually achieving PCI compliance can be a really expensive undertaking, particularly if you've got to use tools which have really fixed licensing requirements and they don't always sort of align directly with your business needs. So the big difference is that our solution at Sumo, we're a cloud native data platform, and it's really focused on allowing you to sort of retain and analyze the information that's most relevant to you. And it enables cost-effective, rapid PCI readiness for all of your cloud and also your on-premises environments. So this diagram here, you can see some of the data types that you may be bringing into Sumo for PCI, whether it's things like your database data or your firewall data, IDS and IPS. You might have your identity data, stuff coming in from cloud services, your traditional sort of operating system and server and workstations, but also you might be building out a microservices application, and you may want to bring some data in from that as well. Many and varied are the types of data that can be brought into Sumo, and that's one of like the really powerful things of Sumo is that structured, unstructured data, we can deal with that all the same and parse out what needs to be available. It's not sort of very restrictive in what you can bring on. There's a lot of stuff that we do straight away out of the box, but even if you've got your own custom application, we make it really easy to sort of parse that out to the framework that you require, and it's not a huge sort of difficult process for you to actually get in those custom application logs as well. I've got a few slides to run through here. I don't want to bore you to death. So we've spoken about some of the challenges, and now we can talk about some of the key advantages that we bring to the table. So as I mentioned, Sumo is a cloud native SaaS solution. So it's highly scalable and elastic. And it's sort of, because it's that SaaS platform, you're eliminating that need to sort of purchase and manage any sort of additional sort of equipment that you need to spin up. Don't need to manage additional resources. It's enabling you to achieve rapid compliance readiness. So there's loads of out-of-the-box content, out-of-the-box dashboards, alerts, but also makes it really easy to build out your own custom queries and dashboards. So makes it really easy to sort of get up and running there. It's also ease of use and flexibility. Your team shouldn't have to do a lot of work in order to get on board. It should be seamless, and it should be very easy for you to get up and running and actually like gain that quick time to value. And finally, cost effectiveness. And this is a big point for Sumo is we have an affordable tiered licensing model that allows you to split out data into various analytics tiers based on your needs, your requirements, and your budget. Some of this compliance data, you need to keep large volumes of it, but you don't actually need to be actively alerting on it, actively dashboarding it. But you need to have it there for those compliance reasons. We can bring that data in at a much lower cost, but then also have the data which you are needing to actively monitor, actively alert on, and bring that data into the same platform in the same method, and basically manage those costs and those volumes of data, and make it something that can work for you. So, as a quick sort of a quick refresher here, this is actually, I'll just step back for a sec. One of the other things I'll just talk about with our cost-effective, I'll just touch on our credits licensing model as well. So with our credits licensing model, it's something that allows you to be really flexible with how you utilize the platform and how you deal with seasonality within your environments over the year. So basically making sure that you're minimizing waste and removing the need to over provision if you have those sort of large spikes in your data. So for things like Black Friday or a grand final or Christmas, whatever might be, excuse me, whatever might be the largest sort of peak for your business, that credits model makes it really easy to deal with that over a year and not over provision. So, as I mentioned, just a quick refresher, and a lot of the folks on the call today are likely very familiar with the 12 core requirements of PCI, and we'll go into more detail during the demonstration, but just to quickly present all 12 here. So you've got things like installing and maintaining firewall configuration, don't use vendor supplied default for passwords or other security parameters, things like encrypt transmission of cardholder data. So our customers are thinking about how they can intelligently and proactively cover these requirements, and also developing policies for things like maintaining secure systems. Requirement 10, for example, track and monitor all access to network resources and cardholder data. That's a really sort of classic use case for a platform like Sumo, in addition to regularly testing systems and processes. I'm not going to go into the full detail on each one of those. As I mentioned, I think a lot of you are quite familiar with this, and I don't want to, excuse me, I don't wish to belabor the point. We'll go into more detail as we progress. So Sumo, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very scalable, proven service. So we've got over 2,000 customers worldwide using the platform, and there is just a massive amount of data that's being analysed and searched every day, and you can see a few data points around that. And we really do make it really easy for you to get quick time to value across your cloud environments, across your on-premise environments, and you're able to sort of use this one platform not just for PCI, but also various use cases across security, DevOps, business intelligence. It makes it really to get that broader value in the organization, rather than having a specific point tool which is only for PCI compliance. This is something that you're able to get value from security and operational use cases out of some of that same data which you need to maintain for PCI, but that also has great operational and security value as well, aside from the compliance piece. So you're really sort of getting greater value for that platform piece as a whole. So I think that's more than enough of me talking to slides. So I'll jump over into the live demo. Now, first, I'd like to show you the Sumo app catalog. So this is all of the out-of-the-box pre-built content that you can deploy. And so if I click on compliance and security here, you can see here that this is covering off a huge range of data sources across both cloud providers, but also other SaaS platforms and network providers, security devices. So you've got stuff from AWS, Azure, Cisco, but also things like Jira and identity providers like Okta, and then even some specific PCI dashboard applications for things like AWS CloudTrail, for Linux, for Palo Alto Networks, for Windows. And yeah, this is some of the stuff that just makes it really, really easy for you to get up and running fast in the platform. So I'll jump over here into our PCI posture overview. So this is a bit of a meta overview, and as I move through, I'll cover off the PCI requirements as we go through, and how we can sort of deal with these within Sumo. I'm just going to drop my video off now while I run through these dashboards. So, as I said, this is a bit of a meta overview of our current PCI state, showing me the number of incidents I've had and the number of failures breaking out by requirement. So I can see here that requirement 6 is the one that's had the most failures over the last 7 days. This is something that I may want to investigate and find out what's going on. But also being able to have a look at the history of failures and sort of the breakdown, the proportion here. So I've just got a nice little stack bar chart that allows me to see the progression over time. So the light pink one here, number 2, that seems to be the one which is having the broadest sort of distribution over this time period. Anyway, I'll dive in and I'll start with requirement 1. And so this is where we have install and maintain firewall configuration. And look, this is a little bit dry, but it's really useful to be able to visualize this over time. So this is some data, firewall data. This came from Palo Alto firewalls in this case, allowing me to see things like traffic by direction over time, splitting inbound and outbound, denied traffic over time, following here over the last hour, allowed, silently dropped, and then also being able to split out this by transport layer protocols, so TCP, ESP, Ether IP, ICMP, IPv6, etc., and just my network allowed and denied traffic over time. And then we're able to get down to a bit more granularity and see things like my successful and rejected traffic and what the top source and destination IPs are for both. And as I mentioned, this was for Palo Alto, but the great thing about Sumo is that this can be adapted to any sort of firewall data that you wish, and we make it nice and easy to be able to parse that data out and apply it to that same sort of fashion. Jumping over to requirement 2 and the use of vendor supplied default passwords and other security parameters. So being able to track things like failed logins, successful logins, root users, looking for things like default logins. So for users like root, so this is going from some Linux data, and all of these things here. This is in the report format, but this can also be something that can be scheduled to send a daily report, a weekly report, or even sort of like a real-time alert if there's something that you need to be really right on top of. Jumping over to requirement 4, requirement 3 is not something that we sort of address in a dashboard sense, but requirement 3 is something that about data security, which Sumo makes very easy. So our platform itself is PCI DSS certified, externally audited. So that's something that you can point to directly by using Sumo as a by using Sumo as a platform for your PCI. You know that we are certified and externally audited, and you don't need to worry about having to get our platform certified to be able to use that for your data. So that's a really strong point there for us. So requirement 4 here, encrypt transmission of cardholder data. So looking for insecure transport protocols from to or from your cardholder data environment. And it's saying here that we've got insecure transport protocols, and it's alerting us to that. Insecure traffic and the application or host involved. So we can see here Dell Sumo Service Device Manager or Facebook, FTP, and being able to see which hosts are involved and which applications as well. And also breaking this out by target port and host. Once again, so this is data coming from Palo Alto, but it could be adapted to whichever security vendors that you are using as well. And breaking out insecure traffic by protocol, denied traffic by protocol, and unencrypted default port traffic here as well. So things like FTP and HTTP, non-HTTPS, HTTP proxy, those sort of things. We'll jump over to requirement 5, and that's protecting all systems against malware and update anti-malware software. So once again, this is where the value of Sumo comes in. It doesn't matter what you're using, if you're using CrowdStrike or Cylance or using Windows Defender, being able to, or even a mix of these across, you might have different things that you're using in your user endpoints versus some of your server fleet. Being able to pull all this together and display it in somewhere that you can easily sort of run through with your QSA and say, yep, this is where we're tracking against requirement 5, and being able to display all of that data really simply. So yeah, where we're detecting malware from, the severities, which apps that it's coming from, which sort of activities are going on, any recent alerts, recent affected files, which unique user IPs are being hit, which apps have been used on infected machines, distribution of malware types. Yeah, so it goes into quite a lot of detail there, and being able to pull all that together, as I mentioned, across those various sources is a really powerful thing. This is just going into a little bit more detail here. So protect all systems against malware and update anti-malware software, antivirus. So breaking out sort of things, severity over time, outlier events here. So this is a useful one as well. So you can actually drill down into here, and you can see the outliers here. So it's being shown that it's a statistical anomaly. And these are actually the sort of things that you can then create alerts for if you so wish. So you can actually schedule these, make it a real-time alert if you wish, and say, I wish to be notified when one of these statistical anomalies happen, and pop an email or possibly a ticket into ServiceNow or a webhook to Slack, depending on what you're doing. And that can that's a useful point here, that any of these dashboard sort of panels that I that I have here within these reports, that can easily be adapted to become an alert or to become a daily report that I'm sending out via email as well. So I'll jump over here to requirement 6. So develop and maintain secure system and applications. Now this is something where this requirement is more about where you're developing policy within your organization, but this is also about how you're reporting against this policy. So making sure that Windows systems are up to date. So it's checking on my specific hosts and saying, yes, the installation status was a success, or has it thrown an error code, and being able to confirm that that's happening across my my cardholder data environment fleet, letting me know where there's been recent failures and update summaries by host, and being able to also see what this sort of update trend is. If I see a big sort of spike in update failures, there might be a bad update that's happened and something that I need to investigate, but this all looks like it's going along fairly smoothly. Moving over to requirement 7, so restricting access to cardholder data by business need to know. And once again, this is something where there needs to be some application of some business logic. You only know within your business what the need to know environments are, but being able to then track against those policies, so things like user accounts created, user accounts being deleted, which services are running in those environments, which services are active over time. So we can see the most stuff here tracking against these users is SSH, which unique services are running, which systems have been stopped, system time changes attempts. So changing time on systems is generally a bit of an indication of compromise there. Excessive failed access attempts. So is these hosts that have people are trying to breach, these things need to be investigated. Once again, this is kind of an example because this is dictated by what your policies are within your environment, but it's definitely an application of Sumo to be able to represent that policy data as applies to your environment. So requirement 8, identify and authenticate access to system components. And yeah, once again, so this is using some Linux data here, but this can also be your SSO provider. This can be your identity provider. This can be a mix of all of these things together. And Sumo makes it really easy to collate those into that common place. And this is data that is just really valuable across security and operations as well. So you're really getting that sort of big value, getting multiple uses out of this data. So it's not just that compliance stuff, but it's stuff that is useful from the help desk through to the SOC, and even application developers being able to troubleshoot identity and authentication issues as well. So being able to see things, user accounts created, deleted, which services are running, really useful sort of stuff there. Moving over to requirement 9, restricting physical access to cardholder data. So this is where actually we're bringing in some GeoIP stuff. This is a US focused dashboard here, but it's also really nice to be able to drill in directly and sort of see the breakout of these things, but then also visits over time. And where this is particularly useful for some of our customers is just being able to see quickly at a glance, okay, which countries do I actually do business with? And if I'm seeing a bunch of access attempts from countries in which I don't operate, that's definitely something that I wish to investigate. So that's a really nice way to visualize that sort of requirement there as well. Requirement 10, so track and monitor all access to network resources and cardholder data. And so this can be, once again, being able to bring all that data together. So failed API calls, console root logins, and this is not just on a particular box, but also in your cloud providers as well. So this is where you can sort of have that data coming in from CloudTrail and Azure Audit, and then also Active Directory, whatever your identity providers are. This is something that you're able to see all of this together, and that consolidated view across those wide variety of platforms is really showing sort of the power of Sumo to be able to sort of collate that data together. Requirement 11, regularly test system security and processes. So as a bit of an example here, this is actually coming from Aqua. So Aqua is a compliance and vulnerability management tool for containers. So you can actually see that within our app catalog. So Aqua security, but we've also got other things like Twistlock and StackRox and various others, JFrog X-Ray, etc., to be able to sort of the different ways that you may be dealing with this. And once again, there's a policy element to this as well, and this goes into things like vulnerability scanning using things like Qualys or Nessus, or but being able to then collate and display this data easily and in a format that's consumable by your QSAs as well. This is just an example of how we can sort of deal with that requirement 11 here. And finally, requirement 12, so maintain a policy that addresses information security for all personnel. And once again, for some of these requirements, there is a policy side to this, and this is very specific to your organization, because no two organizations are completely alike, and so your policy will have guidelines which are similar, but the specifics of this differ from organization to organization. But what we're tracking here is things like policy changes. So how many policy changes have there been recently? What's the trend? What's happening over time? What's the volume of the policy changes? And even things like S3 bucket policy changes that we're tracking directly, via CloudTrail, and we're even able to alert on those as well. So that sort of covers off the core of what I wish to speak to you about today. And I hope that it's been worthwhile, and if you would like to know more, please get in contact with us. You can start a free trial directly if you jump on to sumologic.com and sign up. Then you can start a free trial. You don't need a credit card to do it, and you can see just how quickly that you can get some real time to value and start solving some of your PCI challenges. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.